and welcome to Books and Landscape, and I'm Amanda Davey, and this is the first of a series of chit-chats about themes that have cropped up in the working on my book on the churches, chapels and ruined places of worship of the South Downs National Park. 273 plus of them has thrown up quite a number of repeating patterns or different bits of information it's and the index is now 37 pages of A4 double column, so quite a lot is actually in this kilogram of fact nuggets. Today I'm talking about cricket and the history of cricket as it has appeared in the churches that have cropped up. Cricket pitches, we expect to see village greens cricket, the thwack of the bat and the ball. It's a sort of England thing, but at Lurgashaw and Fernhurst, the cricket was actually being played as we visited the churches, so that was fun. But cricket has come out of a medieval game that probably is rooted in a sort of bizarre way of making bowls more exciting. So they made these bats that look more like hockey sticks to push the balls to one side, and then it sort of gradually evolved into something that we might recognise a bit as cricket, played by parishes, not by clubs. So people would just sort of come along and push a ball around, a bit like soccer, but with a bat. They bowled underarm. Boxgrove Priory in 1622 had problems when cricket was reported as having been played in the churchyard at a time when it wasn't a good idea. It wasn't supposed to be happening, and people got into trouble. The first actual record of cricket in Sussex was 1611 in Siddlesham, which is outside the National Park. Surrey is apparently the first actual record of cricket in England, but Sussex and Hampshire have been quite a hotbed of it. In 1662, churchwardens playing in the churchyard at Boxgrove Priory nearly killed a small child by double batting. And double batting was where, with the soft bowling of an underarm, the ball was moving slowly enough that if the batsman didn't think they'd done it quite right, then they could hit it twice. Or hit it a second time. It wasn't something it wasn't something that they were encouraged to do, and it did actually end up by getting one or two fielders killed. And at Boxgrove, the churchwardens got into trouble because they nearly killed a small child, and she only just survived because of the double batting that somebody was doing. And so it took a while for the rules to actually evolve into what we understand are the rules of cricket today. So in 1750 in Hambledon, they founded the first cricket club, formalised cricket club. I think it's the first. And that was the foremost cricketing club team outside the county teams until the founding of the Marylebone Cricket Club in 1787 in London. And in Hambledon they did formalise many cricketing rules just before the MCC was founded. So the MCC had 3 different grounds selected by Thomas Lord, who had been the groundskeeper, cricketer, descendant of recusant Catholics from Yorkshire, I think, and he is buried in Meon churchyard, next to where the church that preceded the the Victorian church that we see today was. That church was slightly lower down the slope, possibly got a bit soggy. So Thomas Lord selected one site that is now under Dorset Square. Apparently the rent went up, so he decided to pull up the turf and take it to the second site. The second site founded because of the Napoleonic Wars, and also because the Regent's Canal was cut through it, so a bit difficult to play cricket under those circumstances. So he pulled up the turf again and took that to the modern ground where they have been ever since. Now, he died in 1832, so that's nearly 200 years that, or possibly is 200 years that they have been at the site that they are now, apparently. The photograph now, you should be able to see a big tomb that looks all sort of grey and lichen covered, possibly a bit of soot, but it's sort of fitting patina for an old tomb. That's how it looked when we visited the church. Unfortunately, in December of 2025, the MCC, in their lack of wisdom, decided that it needed to be cleaned. It is now sparkling white. It's shocking. To the clean-up brigade, it looks magnificent. To anybody who knows anything about lichens, it looks extremely far from magnificent, not just because the lichens have gone, but also because of the knowledge of what happens to stone if you take the lichens off. Lichens are a symbiotic relationship between fungi, algae and cyanobacteria, possibly with some yeasts thrown into the mix. It's a very complex situation, and if you remove that symbiosis from the lichens, which is what happens when you clean them off, then the bits of the fungi that attach to the stone actually attach in a bit further than it looks, and the only way to protect the stone is to leave the lichens be. And you will see from this photograph from Jersey what happens if people get a little bit overexcited about cleaning things up. So poor old Thomas Lord sparkles now, possibly with sort of the odd ting of sunshine sparkling, and I don't think it's going to look that good for that much longer. Anyway, rant over. Early cricket pitches were not sort of the green village turf thing. They tended to be mown areas, in open mown areas in common land or heathland. And at West Lavington, which in 1839 didn't exist, West Lavington in Sussex, not West Lavington in Wiltshire. The village didn't exist until the mid-19th century, but in the 1839 tithe map, shows a circular cricket pitch in the middle of Lavington Common, which is what it was in those days. The church was founded in 1850, and the common was owned by Pruitt Dennett. By 1900, the pitch was already grown over, and it's now just open ground hemmed by trees. So obviously the new village didn't contain villagers who wanted to play cricket, or something happened to mess up the history of that field, because it's still an interesting feature. In Hurstpierpoint, the builder of the 1843 rebuilt church was Thomas Wisden, who was the father of John Wisden of Wisden's Almanac. He crops up again at Duncton in a second, but first Swanmore. The church was built in 1844 as a chapelry of nearby Droxford. It is likely that Bettersworth Pitt Shearer, who lived at Swanmore House, was involved. He donated land for Swanmore Church on the Isle of Wight, but he had also founded the Hampshire Swanmoors Cricket Club and chaired the Highway Committee, so it's improbable that he wasn't involved in the building of the new church. This was a new build church at Swanmore, not on the site of a previous one, which is more the case for the Victorian churches. So Duncton has a Victorian church as well, up the hill from the previous church. In the previous churchyard at the bottom of Duncton Hill, Jem Broadbridge was an earlier batsman from Duncton. It also has the Cricketer's Arm pub, which was once owned by John Wisden, who bought it in 1867, and he had it run by his fellow bowler Jem Dean. We get into the bowling. So John Wisden's Almanac he'd launched that in 1864, so 3 years before he took on the pub. There were underarm bowlers, and then there's a peculiar sounding thing that Jem Broadbridge, Jem Dean, John Wisden, and all their pals, the Lillywhites and Tom Box, they went in for was called round arm bowling, and I don't understand it, but it was a 90 degrees. They sort of threw the ball from 90 degrees out, and they weren't allowed to do overarm bowling in those days. But this was a faster way of bowling than the previous underarm bowling that had been, and by this stage bats, I think, were made out of willow and a bit more thwacky. So it's fascinating to dig into all this. I'm sure that croquet is somewhere in this link as well. And then at Preston Park, just to complete the ones that cropped up or in the index, the short-lived International Gun and Polo Club, which was present on the 1876 Ordnance Survey map, had gone by the 1896 one and was a cricket pitch. So there we go. So yeah, it's quite fascinating how the different themes crop up across the churches, and I've got a huge, great long list of ones I'm going to play with. So hopefully they will be entertaining, and it's fun to it's incredible to do so many sites, because that means that you get patterns. So there's going to be civil war rampaging and all sorts of things, and the Catholic revival, and yeah. So thank you very much for watching, and it would be lovely if you could subscribe. It would be fantastic if you could comment, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.